it's Karen. I have to paint a couple of cards for the holidays, and I thought I would record the process that I use for my watercolor salt kind of stormy winter scenes that I like to paint a lot. They're super fun. So go ahead and grab some watercolor paper, cold pressed. This is fluid watercolor paper. Tape it down on a board. I like to use this purple painter's tape for delicate surfaces by Scotch, and I just buy it at my local hardware store. So get that ready. You'll just need some table salt, just normal salt that you put in a salt shaker. I've tried to use the bigger salt and I don't get the best results, so I would definitely recommend this. For the sky, which is kind of the probably the most important part about this painting, I have chosen 2 purpley colors and 2 blue colors, and I might end up adding some indigo as well. Because we want it to be a little dark, just so when we add the white paint for the snowflakes, it'll show up. So this is Masha's in turquoise violet. This is Masha's in ultramarine magenta. This is Beam Paint in, can't read it, Glacial Rivers. And this is Beam Paint in Wintry Night. So get a decent amount of that. You won't need too much, but so get that ready to go. And then we can get started. So if you need to, go ahead and draw in a horizon line and don't make it straight. So, and don't make it directly in the center. Make it either up or down. In this case, I would say put it below the center because, as I said, the sky is going to be your main focus of this painting. Okay, so if you have your faint lines drawn in, if you can see those, they're pretty faint. You don't want them to be too bold because you'll be able to see it through the paint. So I'm actually going to erase this one just a little bit so it's not so dark. Okay, and we'll just do the sky wet on dry, which means the sky part is going to start out dry, and we'll just add the wet paint to it. So you should have 2 jars of water, one for rinsing your brush, and then one for cleaning your brush. So one will get dirty quite quickly, the other will stay clean longer, if that makes sense. So just really quick, you probably already know this, but so one is for rinsing, getting the paint off, and then this one is a second rinse to get it clean so you don't contaminate your colors. Okay, and so what we want to do is kind of keep, or what I like to do, you don't have to obviously, but I like to keep the center part of the sky, like where the trees are going to be on either side, and I like to keep the center kind of light because it brings the eye into, like, it gives it depth, and it makes it seem like you're looking into the distance. So that is what we're going to do. So I tend to put the purples in the center and then the blues on the outside. So we will start with that. We will grab some purple, get it nice and wet. So here's the 2 purples. And then for this part, which we want to keep somewhat light, we're going to just apply clean water and kind of just move this around. And if I need to, I can just kind of pull some of this off with a clean brush, a clean wet brush, to kind of carve out some white space there. And then we will add the blues, the beautiful blues. Okay. And this one's a darker blue. And you are going to want to bring it all the way down to the water line. I mean to the, sorry, horizon line. Okay. And then we'll just do the same thing with just clear. Okay. So you'll just want to take a look at that. Now at this point you can drop some more in, because watercolor is really cool when it reacts with other colors, especially if they're granulating colors like these are. These are all pretty much granulating colors. And I believe they're all light fast as well. So, okay. All right. I think that's perfect for the first sky, so I don't even think we need indigo. But if you wanted to darken up the corners, you could. So while it's still quite wet, so hopefully you can see it's still very wet, I'm going to sprinkle on generously the table salt. Okay, and we're just going to let that dry naturally. All right, you have to let it dry naturally, and I usually let it dry overnight because I usually paint in the evening. So I won't work on this again until tomorrow evening after work. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom one because I need to make 2 cards. So I will go ahead and do the bottom one, and you can just watch. But it'll be the same process. So I'm going to grab a little more of the purple paint. And you know what? Let's do a little green. Last year I did green instead of purple, and it looked very cool also. So I'm going to use bean paint and Rainforest. This is a sparkly paint. It has mica in it, and it's beautiful. So, oops. So we are going to do that instead of purple, and we'll see how that turns out. There's the lighter of the bean paint and the glacial rivers. Okay, and then again we're going to turn this around and now soften this with just clean water. Just take clean water, soften all of this up, get those lines, those paint lines. You're just going to go over this with clear water and blend it in. Okay, so that's kind of the secret to paintings like this, is keeping everything wet until you're ready to just let it all dry. And we're going to go ahead and pull some of this paint off to make it a little light there in the center. Okay, that's good. And then a little more of the darker color. Okay. And another little fun thing to give it even more texture, which I'll show you on this one, is rinse out your brush, get your brush wet with just clear water, and just tap. And especially for granulating paints, you can see how beautiful that is, the marks that it makes. But we're also going to add salt, because salt is cool. So it's still very wet. I've had some artists say that you're supposed to let it dry off a little, but for me it always dries off too quickly, and then the salt doesn't work. So if you look at this first one that we did, you can already see that the salt is absorbing the paint, and it's making all these really cool marks. So that's what we're going for. That's going to give it the snowy look. And you can see we've got the same thing going on down here already too. Okay, so set these aside. Don't fuss with them. And once it's dry, we will come back and add trees, and then some shadows to the snow in the foreground, and that's it. So I will see you when it's ready to go. Okay, we are back again, And I am hoping that your painting is looking somewhat like mine with all these beautiful salt marks. And so you're going to want to make sure it's completely dry, and then just take a clean towel or something, and you can go ahead and just gently remove the salt. Okay. And there we have, look at that beautiful texture. And because I used beam paint, which has mica in it, there's some, actually even some golden shimmer in mine as well, which is very cool. Okay, so let's do the trees. So one thing that I found when I started painting, sorry, my dogs were barking. Anyways, one thing that I discovered when I first started trying to paint trees is I would line them up in a row, and they looked silly, because if you go out into nature and look, the trees are all different heights. Some are close together, some are spread out. So I'm just going to show you what I do to try to get it to look a little more natural. So I'm going to have you take a couple of towels and kind of cover up, it doesn't have to be perfect, but cover up part of, cover up part of your snow, and then the top part of your skies, because the trees are going to be here on either side. So we just don't want things to go too crazy. And there go my dogs again. So what I am going to do for my trees, I am going to play with this new color, this color that I just bought. It's a Schminky super granulating indigo called Haze Indigo. So I'm going to try that, and I'm going to mix it with some Daniel Smith green and see if that makes a nice tree. So what I'm going to do is splatter, I'm just going to use the indigo since it's a little darker. I'm going to splatter like we did the water before. Very gently, nothing crazy, just like that. Okay, so that gives me a very organic, spread out, like pattern for your trees, okay? And I'm going to paint kind of like Douglas fir trees because I live in Washington. That's what we have here. Of course, you can paint whatever kind of trees you want. And I have found that this Princeton Neptune quarter inch brush, and I'm sorry, I don't know what that's called, but it's got this it's like a dagger almost. Maybe it's a dagger brush. This works really well for painting fir trees. And another thing about painting the fir trees is you kind of want to use thicker paint. You don't want to use super watered down paint. So I am going to get some of this green over here. This is undersea green right here, and this is green apatite genuine. And I just squeeze it out of the tube and stick it in this little ceramic thing. It's actually an egg holder. Huh. Okay, and so we will turn this around. We will get started. So we're going to make some of these splotches here into trees. So I'm just going to kind of mix on my brush like the greens and the blues together. And then we'll want some that are far away and some that are close up. So we'll start with the further away ones. And if I have too much paint on my brush, like I did there, you just dab it onto your towel. And we're just going to kind of make a tree shape. And then we'll add, there's a splotch right there, so we'll turn that into, and so I kind of want these to be paler because they're in the distance. So you see they're not very dark. Okay, and then we'll do one here. Okay. And then one thing I like to do is go back in while it's still wet and add some darker values to it. Just like kind of on one side. Okay. And do another one right here. So try to make them different heights. That's one thing I do. I tend to like make them all the same level and stuff, and it looks silly. So, okay. Add some green to that. Add some green to that. Okay. Now another thing we can do while it's still wet is just take a brush with some clean water and kind of blend this out, and it'll make it appear like it's kind of in the fog. And I'm just going to blot that so it's not quite so. Okay. Okay. So see how there is kind of like in the distance in the fog. So far so good. And we'll do like one more down here. Do the same thing to the bottom of that. Okay. All right. I'm going to dry this really quick, and then we'll come back and we'll add some more trees. I'll be right back. Okay, it's all dry. So now we're going to add some trees that are closer in the foreground, and so they will be darker and larger. So they'll actually start someplace down here and kind of go up, and it will obscure some of these, but that's okay. So I added some more indigo to my palette, and we'll just kind of mix the green with the indigo and just get it like on, you can get it all on your brush at the same time. And then I'm going to dab a little off. Okay. And then we'll use our little marks as a guide. So I'm going to make this mark a tree. And so we can kind of just do a trunk there. I still have too much paint. Okay. And then see how this makes nice irregular that's why I like this brush a lot for this. Okay. And when you get down there, we'll do the same thing with the base of it. Just clear water. And don't worry about that. We're going to deal with all that later. Okay. And then we'll do another one. And just play with the colors. This one's also going to be a taller one. It's kind of like, we'll make that kind of back there a little, oops. There we go. So clear water and just blend that out at the bottom. Okay. So you see how now we're developing some depth. We've got things in the front, things in the back, and then we'll even have some stuff here in the far distance. So I think we'll use this mark right here to do another one. There we go. I think it's looking very pretty. Okay. I kind of want to just go wandering around back there. So I think we need a few more distant ones. So remember, we will use paler colors. So add more water to your watercolor. And we'll do the same colors, but just gonna add just a couple more distant trees back here. Okay. Oh, that's good. We'll just do the one. Okay. All right. Feel like it needs one more on this side. So I am just going to add one more. And we'll just kind of bring this down like it's in the front. This Schminky paint is beautiful. I don't know if you can see how granulating it is, but I just bought it and I'm super excited to use it. So, all right, so we'll go ahead and okay. All right, I actually think that's good. So the only thing that's left to do is, oops, okay, we will just turn that into something, is to add some snow drift marks in the front and the foreground. And what I would suggest you do for a little color harmony is try to incorporate some of the blues that you used in your shadows. So you could use blues, purples, grays. You could use Moonglow by Daniel Smith. You could use Shadow Violet by Daniel Smith, which I actually love Shadow Violet, which is this color here. It's like a purpley gray color. So I might use that plus some of the Schminky. I'm going to mix it with the Schminky. And we'll just see how that looks. So in order to kind of get, again, random, maybe more natural looking marks in the foreground, I'm going to hold my brush extremely light and I'm going to just let it kind of like do its own thing in my hand. I'm not going to try to direct it in any way, okay? And I'm going to do it on its belly like this and try to get some dry brushing going on, okay, like that. So if you have too much paint and water, go ahead and get some thicker paint and then tap it off on a paper towel or a towel and try to make sure you don't have too much. And let's just see what happens here. So I'm just going to like roll this around. Okay, so that's good. Don't overdo it. And then just come in and you're gonna like soften this. So again, you're just taking your brush with some clean water and you're just softening these edges up. So you're just kind of making some shadows there on the snow. Okay, kind of like that. And maybe I'll add a little bit of the blue just to kind of make it, see, it looks quite different than the blues back there. So I am going to just throw some blue in here. Okay. going to actually block that. Okay. Okay, there. I like that. All right, and then we can do the same thing with our second one. And then when this one's totally dry, we'll come back and look at it one more time and see if we want to add anything like in the background. But I want to just let it dry and do its thing before we do that. And we can go ahead and do the same thing on this one. And I'm going to do the same thing where I kind of cover up some of this so it doesn't go all over the place. Okay. And then get just a decent sized round brush. And again, I'm going to use the indigo mixed with green and just do some splatters. Okay. All right, and there we have our pattern and our guide for doing more trees. So we will add our background trees again, so make it a little lighter in color. You can fade out as it gets down towards the bottom. A little lighter in color, but make sure they're staggered in your heights. Okay. Go ahead and get some clear water and just blend that out. Okay. We'll do a shorty one right there. The background ones, honestly, it doesn't really matter if they don't look all that great because they're going to get covered up for the most part anyways. So don't really worry about it. And again, if you get too much paint and water, just dab it off on a cloth of some kind. Okay, and you can go back in with some darker colors and just drop them in, just for a little variation there. Okay. And we'll do like another one right here. Okay. Right, I'm going to go ahead and dry that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back one more time, and I'm actually going to switch brushes. So this fusion brush by Yasutomo, I don't like it. It came with this excellent set, and I like the bigger brushes a lot more. They have a nice point and stuff, and they hold a lot of water. This one, for whatever reason, is like kind of a wonky brush, but I found out it's actually really good for dry brushing. Doing it like this, like it leaves a lot of, see that? It leaves a lot of white space. So I'm going to try to use this one for this foreground, and this is that schminky color haze pink. So I'm going to try that, just a little bit of it, in a pretty dry brush, not too much water, and we'll kind of just, again, I'm holding the brush just super loose, not really freaking out about where it goes. Okay, and then you can soften that up a little with a brush with clean water. Kind of blend it in. Okay, and that one doesn't need very much. I think I'm going to just leave that the way it is. And I'm going to go see what the dogs are barking at. I'll be right back. Okay, all we really need to do are some finishing touches, and this will be done. Let's get this out of the way. So I'm going to just take a white posca pen. What size is this? 0.7 millimeters. So this is a smaller one. And sometimes you have to like get them going a little on a test piece of paper. So all we're going to do is add a little bit of snow to some of these branches. And it will kind of add some definition. But don't, again, keep it very loose and hold the pen loosely so you aren't being too precise. And you're just going to almost like scribble. So just scribble. Just scribble some white here for snow. And you can kind of blend it a little with your finger while it's still wet. These are acrylic paint pens. And then just a tiny little bit here on the background trees, just a little bit. And again, make sure that your painting is totally dry before you start doing this. And then we'll do the same down here. This one definitely needs it because this one kind of got all blurred together, so we're definitely going to do lots of squiggles on this one. But that's okay. It kind of looks like it's in the fog, which is very atmospheric, so it's fine. Squiggles, white squiggles, white squiggles, a few more white squiggles. And if you need to practice this on a separate sheet of paper before you start, definitely do that. It took me a few years to learn how to be really loose with stuff. I was drawing and painting very tight when I first started, so it does take a little practice. But again, just don't overthink it because it's meant to be fun. Okay, so give it one last look and see if there's any other snow you want to add to your trees. So those are looking good. And then the final touch, which is what makes it look really cool. I'm going to use Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, but you could also use white gouache or even watered down white acrylic. And so I will take a round brush, clear water, and take some of this paint that's in here. And I just use a lid and just add some more water. And one thing you don't want to do is contaminate your white paint with a color. So just please make sure that you're using a clean brush. And then we're just going to spatter our snow. So I find it works better with larger brushes. And you can add some water if you want to get some more. And then try to like move your hand around so you're not getting the same pattern. But look at that. Isn't that fantastic? And then we'll do the same down here. So kind of just move it around. Snowing. It's very snowy here. Yeah, I think I almost like this one with the green better. But they're both beautiful. And I think the people who receive these as presents will enjoy them too. So what I'm going to do, and I won't show you that because I'm sure that's probably pretty boring, but once this is dry, I'm going to just leave this dry. I'll take the tape off, and then I'm going to attach them to blank cards that I bought on Amazon, just cardstock that came with envelopes. And so I used the little photo corners to attach them. And I will take a picture of it when it's done so you can see what it looks like. But that's how I sell my cards, so that way they can just, if they wanted to, they could just pop the painting off the card and put a little mat or frame on it and keep it if they choose to do that. So I also, one thing, I always sign my original art, so I'll have to put a signature on. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I will come back just with a quick look at the final product. So you will see what it looks like in its final state. All right, see you soon. Okay, I decided I would go ahead and show you how I finish this up, because if you haven't done this before, this is kind of important. So like I said, I used fluid watercolor paper for this project. And the reason I chose fluid is, number one, it's somewhat inexpensive, but it's a good quality. And I like how it reacts with watercolor and salt. So I think, honestly, I think it's better than arches when you're trying to do the watercolor and salt thing. So I have a bunch of fluid paper that I use for these cards. But the one thing about the fluid paper is it hates tape. So you have to be super careful pulling off the tape. So I just wanted to show you how I do it. So again, this is the Scotch Delicate Surface tape. So it's supposed to be a little more delicate anyways. Obviously it's for painting your walls, but that's okay. So you're going to go very slow, and you're going to pull it off at an angle. And you're not going to speed up. You're going to be very patient and go very slow. Okay, well, that one worked. All right, and then I'll try this one. Same thing. Very slow at an angle. Oh, and you can see it didn't really work there, but that's okay. You know, leaks like that just indicate, oh, this is original art. So, whatever. Okay. And then we'll do the same for these. Okay. Looking good though. Looking very nice. Okay. I think they're beautiful. So this, I'm just going to take one side off first. I was trying to conserve tape. So there's one. Get this one off. Okay. There we have it. So there are 2 cards ready for some lucky person. So again, I want to put a signature on. So I would just use one of my little, this is a Charsako, but it's similar to the Micron pen. And then just kind of figure out, I'm going to put it probably over here. So they know it's original. Okay. And then this one, I'll put it right here. Okay. So there's our 2 cards. And then the way what did I do with them? Oh, there. So here's the cardstock I was telling you about. I buy the cream colored cardstock, and then I have a little stamp. I bought this either on Amazon or Etsy. I don't remember which. But it's for like crafters, so you can sign it. So I just write handmade with love, Mystic Art by Karen. So we'll do that on both of them, and then it just gets attached to the I hope this was recording. Oh my gosh. It just gets attached to the front of the card using these little photo corners. That. And like I said earlier, that way if the person really loves the painting and they want to just pop it off of there and get a little mat and frame for it, they could actually keep it as artwork. Look how beautiful that looks. And then we can do the purple one as well, real quick. Okay. Uh-oh. Fell off. Okay. All right. And cards like this, they don't need any special postage or anything, so you'll just put it in an envelope and mail it like normal, and there you have it. You have two beautiful cards. And another thing that you could do that's kind of fun is spatter gold. If you have any gold paint, I use the beam paint. It's called Fairy Tale Gold. And I'll often do that as well, but I didn't do it on this one. So I think these are fine. I'm not going to mess with them anymore. I think they look great. And I hope that you will give this project a try. And happy holidays to everybody. Take care. See you next time.